And I wanted to say this because then probably what you have to share about the corporations might lead into this.
Okay.
Betrayal. Isn't that as more and more of this becomes revealed, the whole thing that's never been taught in the churches about the fact that there is something called the Bene Elohiym, the fallen watchers, that, this stuff has never been taught. And can you imagine the level and feeling of betrayal of people as more and more of this is coming in? Right. And I think that my biggest heart in all of this to say to everybody who is feeling betrayed as all this stuff is, God is not the one who betrayed you. That's right. Good. Yes. He is not the betrayer. Right. And because I've literally had visions of a time coming and it's the great falling away. And we are, I think that we're there, as more and more of this stuff comes, people that have been sitting in the church pews for decades are going to turn their back on their faith because they feel betrayed and they don't know what to do with it. And it's a really interesting strategy. And I think about it, what was the biggest sin of the fallen watchers? They betrayed their creator. Mm-hmm. Betrayal. Right. Betrayal. Huge. I had to look it up.
Pride comes before the fall.
Yeah.
Pride comes before the betrayal.
Yes.
Because it started with pride.
It did. It started with pride. It's exactly, I want that worship for myself. I'm beautiful. I deserve it. I should be the one recognized, and it caused betrayal to come in. Absolutely amazing. I looked at it. The word in scripture is Ramah. It is a resh, a mem, and a hey, right? So if I'm looking in a pictograph, I've got what looks like a man's head. So I'm always thinking about the thoughts, right? And then I've got waters, chaos. The waters go here, there, everywhere. So you've got chaotic thoughts. And then that hey is always like, I'm seeing something. I'm aware of something now. Wow, because it's like a man standing with his hands, like, okay, I see it, right? And so that Ramah, and when you look at it in the etymology, it means something that's been hurled. Isn't that wild?
Wow.
Yeah, right. Figure specifically something that's shot at you.
The fiery darts
of betrayal.
Wow.
I know. So it's to delude, betray, beguile, deceit. When I looked it up in the etymological dictionary, it says to hurl up in a targeted fashion.
Wow.
I know. Really interesting, isn't it?
Oh, I can't hear you. There you go. Yeah.
Yay.
For whatever reason, it muted.
Hold on.
There you go. I hear you again. Oh, you're talking about something that doesn't need to be. Somebody doesn't want you saying.
How about now?
I can hear you.
I can hear you too. my microphone just decided to go whoop and totally cut me off. Well,
yeah.
So I love reading good books. So this is what I've been reading lately. It's by here's the author, Tessa Afshar, and it's called Bread of Angels. So in this book, she has experienced a really bad betrayal, right? So her dad's talking to her about it. He's saying, I get it. You've lost everything, you've lost your security, you've lost your home, and I'm afraid your suffering's not done yet. So this woman has been deeply betrayed by someone, deeply betrayed, and it's cost her everything. And it's about to cost her father's life. And so I just wanted to read you this because she goes into the thought process of betrayal. And I've never heard a better description. It says her father's wounds improved and began to scab over, though he remained weak and unable to travel. Left without the distraction of nursing him and the busyness of work, she found herself at the mercy of her thoughts. Ding, 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 hurled at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The conversations were the worst part. Conversations Lydia succumbed to in her own mind. Isn't that what it's like? Right?
It is.
What she said to Jason and Dion in her imagination. This is her going back. The betrayal's already happened, and now she's reliving it, rehearsing it, and it's running through. I wish I would have said, if only I would have done, if I could have just had the chance to say, right? Because that's what it does to you, right? So the conversations were the worst part. Conversations Lydia succumbed to in her own mind. What she said to Jason and Dion in her imagination, words to vindicate herself, searing pronouncements of their guilt, words of revenge, where with cruel precision she explained their violation and condemned them with such persuasion that they repented. In her thoughts, they always repented, and she won. She found vindication. Then the cycle began again, and the argument started once more. She could not sleep. Her mind would not rest. Betrayal works like leaven, her father told her one late evening. Leaven? You mean he's shifted on the mattress, which he rarely left these days. It gives rise to bigger things so that by the time it has done its damage, it isn't merely the act of betrayal from which you need healing. It infests the mind with resentment and bitterness, and those are much harder blights to overcome than mere betrayal.
Wow.
Isn't that insightful?
Yeah.
I thought it really was. I was like, wow, that explains that on such a level, of what happens to us. And so you can imagine as things are coming up to the surface and things are becoming obvious, how people are going to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Betrayed by every system that they trusted, and betrayed by, how many people have trusted in their 401ks for their retirement?
Yeah.
How many people have trusted in the systems that have been set in place
Mm-hmm.
for their security? Farms being bought out, farmers being paid to not farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of this stuff is going on before us right now. It's like living in an upside down world, and everything that everybody trusted in, all the systems that were in place. Trust your doctor.
Right.
Can you?
Trust the
Trust the
plan.
science. Trust the plan. Trust the science. Yeah. And we're finding out that none of it is trustworthy.
No,
None
of it.
None of it.
And if these people that don't have a very, very deep relationship with God and a foundation with God, they're building their house on sand.
Yeah.
And the storms are going to come against that house, and then it's going to fall. And great is going to be the fall of it.
Yep.
Wow. Because, the storms come against the person that's got the house built on a rock.
Yeah.
The storms are still coming, but you don't fall if you've got that rock, that foundation. So I feel sorry for the people out there that are going to be just spiral off into the universe because they have nothing grounding them anymore. Right. Their very foundational truths were based on lies. And there is scripture about that, but I don't think that was specifically talking about the the deceit and the lies that are happening in our government and in our culture and our world. I think it was talking more about the lies that come from pulpits that are not leading us in the right direction, where it says that there will be a time where I think it is in, help me out here, Ezekiel. And it says that they will say that we have inherited lies from our fathers, and that there will be, and then I think this is a separate scripture. I haven't read it in a while, so I'm like, is this the same scripture or is this two separate scriptures where it says, and then they'll grab the tzitzits of the
Yehuda.
Thank you. And they will, the 10 men will grab that. And so, and those are scriptures that I feel like that are being fulfilled right now. They've been happening for 10, 20, 30 years now as people, because maybe you can address this. I know that we were specifically talking about the lies and culture, but also when you were speaking about that, it was making me think about how when I started to see that talking about Eostra, that I realized, what is this Easter? What is this? And that it started with reading the scripture in Revelation about Babylon. Right. God saying, come out of her, my people, lest you partake in her sins. And I was like, oh, well, what is Babylon? So I can get out of her, so then I started reading and finding out in the Bible that Nebuchadnezzar, that he was the king of Babylon. And then you go even farther forward in the Bible, and it's the Tower of Babel, where they were all coming together against God.
Right.
And that God had to confuse their language to scatter them. And so, all of it was about rebellion. And then, so what did they do is they then took the gods and goddesses. They're all just fake, fallen angels. They're not fake as in made up. They are real beings, but they're created beings by the creator, and they're fallen angels, and they are myths and legends of these fallen angels, and they've been worshipped and carried down from generation to generation among the people who are not currently following God, the creator of the universe. So the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yeah. And anyways, whenever I started to realize that these fake gods talking about, Eostra, and the reason why I'm using that particular name of that goddess, which we already talked about all the other names, was because Eostra is so similar to Easter. Mm-hmm. So when you realize that Easter was specifically meant to worship something other than Yahweh, Yahuah, Yahovah, however you want to say his name, that it was not ever in the worship of God, and that it was taken in by the Catholic Church to allow the people to sit in the pews of that Catholic Church and be comfortable in whatever it was that they were doing, and so that the Catholic priest could have a huge audience in front of him and speak Catholic things to them. That's why Eostra was adopted. And so that's when I started realizing, well, I've been taught a lie, because I never did understand the eggs. You really don't ever understand it. You don't understand the bunnies. You don't understand the eggs. And then you're like, but how does this have to do anything with Jesus? And I don't get it, but you don't. You're like, well, these people are in authority over me.
Tradition.
So you don't question, and you just And then that was the moment where I started going, wait a minute, and then started looking at Christmas harder. And
Yeah.
so I know that this, hopefully this is not shocking people who are listening to us, but if it is, you need to look at Christmas harder. Where did that come from? Was it happening before Jesus's birth? So if it was, then it had nothing to do with Jesus's birth. So, and it did. It was happening long, long, long before Jesus's birth.
Right.
So, all the stuff that we inherited were lies. And let me backtrack that. The traditions of Christmas and Easter and worshiping God on Sunday was the lies.
Yeah.
Saying that his instructions were done away with and you don't have to look at them, don't read them, don't think about them. Those are lies.
Right.
So when I decided to stop doing Easter and stuff like that, that's when I started going, well, what are we supposed to do? Well, I'm going to do only what's in the Bible. And that's when I started realizing, oh, it's, I should be reading this book here. It tells me about holidays that God gave us. Why are we not doing that? Why? And so that's the stuff where the scripture where it says they will say, I have inherited lies from my father. And I think, like I said, I think it's a second scripture where it says, and 10 people will grab a hold of the tzitzit, which represents the law that Judah has been in charge of keeping. Right. And so